You are sleeping on fleets. Welcome, friends, to the Beaver Dam. We're here to talk about how CG has been very generous in the last year of giving you guys fleets through these Lightspeed bundles. And you're probably sleeping on them. And not only that, you're probably not aware that you will have basically Kyber-ready fleets lying in your roster that you just haven't finished. And it bugs me. It drives me crazy when I look at people's rosters about this. So we're going to jump in and take a look. And so these first three are pretty obvious, you know. We have our Finalizer fleet. And so I am going to go through what you need to upgrade these fleets and a brief description on how they work. So with this first one, we have the Finalizer fleet. To get this to work and be good, you need a tank. Usually throw in Houndstooth until you get Echelon, but Echelon should be on your farming list. Should have been on your farming list for months now. You should have a 6-star to a 7-star Echelon at this point. Also, Special Forces TIE Fighter is very important to this fleet and super easy to get. I hope everyone has a 7-star of that. This fleet can take down Executor. It's basically Kylo Ren just deals tons and tons of damage. Echelon tanks hits. Every time they tank hits, that feeds turn meter into Shuttle. Shuttle feeds turn meter back into Kylo Ren. It's just an infinite loop of getting Kylo Ren to kill everything. This fleet is amazing. It's a little technical. If you want to know more about this fleet, I do have a video. There should be a card above that you can take a look and figure out how to use this fleet. Going into this next fleet, we got the Raddus fleet. Now, I know a lot of people don't like this fleet, and I get why, because it's been a pretty worthless fleet up until recently. But with the comeuppance, even a Gear 9, Gear 8 Zori is going to give you as much as you need. 6-star, you're still going to get tons and tons of use out of this. Because I don't want you thinking of this as a fleet where it's like, oh, this fleet has technicality to it, it has all this stuff you need to do. No, it's always been just a survivability fleet. You just survive long enough to hit your ult. Or in this case, now with the comeuppance, you just keep the Millennium Falcon alive long enough for the comeuppance to come out, and you save her AoE. And then as soon as the comeuppance set comes out, you hit the AoE and you wipe the entire other fleet. Like, that's basically how it works. That's how it counters the Malevolence, and that's just how it works. It just absolutely destroys the other team with one nuke. So don't sleep on this fleet. Please do get that Star Fortress up, just to keep your team alive, especially because if these are the only 2 Lightspeed bundles you purchased, this fleet is garbage against the Malevolence, whereas this fleet counters the Malevolence, and so it really shores up one of the major holes that you have in your offensive fleets if these are the only 2 that you have. Now, going into the Secrets and Shadows, Shadows of the Empire, my bad. Shadows of the Empire bundle. You ended up with a Rebel fleet. And this is how I would suggest you upgrade it. You know, you have your Han's Millennium Falcon from the Finalizer stuff. You just have a couple more ships to work on, basically. Hopefully you're working on Razor Crest, because everyone should be working on Razor Crest no matter where you are in the game. You should be able to get a Han's Millennium Falcon fairly easily just from your previous bundles. You should be working on the Y-Wing. That is one of the most important things that they don't give us, and it's one of the things that's most slept on. If you've ever looked at anyone's fleets, it's always the tanks that are missing. That is the thing that no one ever farms, is the tanks. And so, you know, the Echelon, the Star Fortress, the Y-Wing, all tanks. And you're going to see that as a pattern throughout this whole video. And then you've got your Outrider. Obviously, you have a Relic 5 if you bought the Starkiller bundle. And so the Outrider fits with this and fits with the Profundity. It's not the best fleet for Home 1, but it's still going to put in work. I've used this on stream myself. And it has tons and tons of assists. That's the point of the Rebel fleet, is just tons and tons of assisting to deal tons of damage. With the basic calling someone to assist and dispelling buffs, this ship, it cannot be slept on. Like, this is an excellent fleet. Don't sleep on it. Get yourself an Outrider, get yourself a Y-Wing. Going to the newer Lightspeed bundles. Now, this is very important. Y-Wing, the BTLB Y-Wing, is the thing that makes this fleet okay. If not, it is a glass cannon fleet. If Anakin dies too early, you're screwed. If Ahsoka dies, not as important. But if you don't have a tank here, you're screwed, basically. This fleet is pretty garbage without a tank in the fleet. And so, you know, throwing out that Y-Wing is going to be one of the most important things you can do for this fleet. So please farm your tanks. It should be in your farming plan, regardless of what other things are happening. Fleets take forever to do, and the fastest account I've ever seen get to Kyber 1 was an account that focused down fleets. It went for Executor first, and then it went for Profundity second, and within 2 years he was in Kyber 1, which is wild. The only time he ever spent money was to buy himself a hyperdrive bundle, and then the $10 conquest pass each month. That's it. And this guy made it to Kyber 1 in 2 years. Do not sleep on your fleets, guys. It is vitally important. So get that BTLB, get that Y-Wing, get that Star Fortress, get that Echelon. They're so vitally important. Now, jumping into this next fleet where the tank isn't as important, because you've already kind of been given one of the tanks. But this will be a fleet that takes work, because this was one of those ones that's a secret fleet, just kind of like how this one was a kind of a secret fleet that you got from that one, where it was just like, oh, you got a little bit of a rebel stuff and a boost towards JML. This one right here, you have Relic Geos, which already makes this fleet really good, and so you should be dumping all of your Mark II raid, or sorry, not Mark II raid, Get 2 from your territory battles. You should be dumping it all into Malevolence, because Malevolence is an amazing fleet, takes almost nothing to get up, and you already have the characters relic for the ships. If you guys get these guys to Relic 7, this counters Profundity. Like, that's huge. So far, you have a Negotiator, which is an excellent fleet that counters most other fleets. If you get the Marauder, it can counter all the meta fleets. So far, you have a Finalizer that kills Executor. Now you're going to have a Malevolence that kills Profundity. Like, this is absolutely bonkers. And also, quick side note, I didn't put the Marauder in here as something to farm, because the Marauder is a ton of investment that can't really fit into a farming plan until you finish your Lightspeed bundles, because that's a ton of Chirotechs that are going to take away from all kinds of farms you have right now. It's also another ship that you're going to have to level up and everything, and I'd much rather see a BTLB in your fleet first, and just push out the Marauder for a while. It's fine. You're not gonna be, struggling too bad, especially if you're following this overall, like, what these fleets are and how you're gonna get all of them. So this counters Profundity, and on top of that, you get the Hyena Bomber, which is super important to this fleet, but it's not as important when you're countering Profundity, and you can use this fleet with just the 3G notions and do some solid work. But I do suggest the Hyena Bomber, especially for the classic defensive lineup for this, which includes both of these ships, and especially this ship right here. And I will tell you why in a bit, but there's an important other farm. Some of you might already know what I'm talking about. There's an important other farm associated with the same node that this guy is on. So make sure that you're getting the Vulture Droid and the Hyena Bomber. Now you see that there's a Millennium Falcon here. I do want to make you aware of this cheese. It's one of my favorite cheeses in the game, and it's handed me some wins in Grand Arena, and I think it's hilarious. If you don't have like a viable Home 1 fleet up and running, but because you bought the Finalizer bundle, you have the Bounty Hunters to get yourself like a 5-star Han's Millennium Falcon, you can throw it with Malevolence, and it's hilarious. You just put it as the first reinforcement, it gets called in, and it does its little wiggle. And the reason that it's important that it does its little wiggle is because when it does its little wiggle, it can't be targeted unless it's the only enemy. Which means that as Malevolence is taking turns and spawning these Vulture Droids, usually you just have to kill the non-summoned characters and then you win. But because Millennium Falcon's there and you can't target it, you have to go through and kill every single one of the summoned allies before you can take down the Millennium Falcon. I have done some stupid stuff to my opponents with this, so definitely something to think about if you don't have a Home 1 or you have an extra fleet and you're just like, oh, I'm not using Home 1, I don't have enough slots and fleets to really care. Break up the fleet and do something fun to your opponent. So, fun thing to put on defense is that Millennium Falcon with the Malevolence. Moving on into the, really quick. This whole team just revolves around Buzz Droids and Summoned Allies. You're just basically dealing extra damage based on debuffs. That's why Finalizer doesn't work against it, because Finalizer has no cleanses. They can't cleanse the debuffs, so they get destroyed. Just a quick side note. Now going into our next fleet, this is one that you should be building towards. If you got the Rey bundle and you got the Kylo Ren bundle, you should be building towards Executor. The Finalizer bundle is a sleeper thing that just basically gives you everything you need to start your Executor rush. Executor is going to get you a crystal income. You're going to guarantee you staying in the top of your fleet arena. It's going to be amazing. So don't sleep on this fleet. It's going to be an amazing fleet for you. It's going to be really easy to get. You already have several of these requirements at Relic, several of the requirements for the ships up to 7 stars. You're right next to this fleet. Don't sleep on going for this fleet. I've been seeing it a lot, so go for this fleet. And the thing is, with those Lightspeed bundles that you've also gotten some secret buffs into another fleet. So if you go into Executor, you're going to build another fleet off of that, which is this right here, the Chimera fleet. I don't care what gear level you have your Thrawn at, but you have a Vader, you're going to have a TIE Fighter from the Executor fleet, you're going to have a TIE Bomber from the Executor requirements, and then your Rey is going to get you TIE Interceptor shards, and you have an Iden Versio in your roster because you farmed the Vulture droid, which is on the same node as Iden Versio. Get yourself a TIE Defender, and right here you have another Executor counter. On top of that, you now have a fleet that can build outwards. Just how Negotiator, you build outwards with Marauder, and you can take out multiple meta ships. You take Chimera, and you build out with Scythe. You build out with Palpmobile. You can build out and beat all 3 of the meta fleets with this fleet. So these are the fleets of the Lightspeed bundles. Obviously, there's some obvious ones, you know. You get most of the ships that you need for these 4. But then you have things like Malevolence, where you don't want to sleep on it. Start getting those ships as soon as you can. I wouldn't say drop all your farms for it, but do drop all your get-to currency on at least unlocking Malevolence. I want to see this sooner rather than later. And then, you know, going for Executor, I feel like most people who got like the day 1 Lightspeed bundles should be done with Rey and Kylo and should probably be working on this as your next farm. It's going to be one of the greatest things that can possibly help you in the game, is having a meta fleet. You throw this on defense and you're basically fine until you hit a Rhodium. You hit a Rhodium, you're still going to get holds. You hit Kyber, you're still going to get holds with it. People do not prepare their fleets. They sleep on them so hard. I don't know if you saw it, but just the other day my opponent just gave up as soon as he got to my fleets because I went against his Executor and he put his TIE Interceptor with his Executor, which means that this counter for Executor was no longer in his roster. And so because of that, he didn't have an Executor counter and he just gave up because he's like, I can't beat his fleets. And I wiped his fleets. And so don't sleep on your fleets. Your fleets can take you to Kuiper so fast. And so 100% get the tanks. That's the big thing. Echelon, Star Fortress, Y-Wing, BTLB Y-Wing, Hyena Bomber. You know, the Houndstooth is obviously the best tank of the game, and luckily you got it for free. That's amazing. And then, you know, the TIE Bomber here you're going to get as part of the Executor requirements. Like, they've set you up for so much success and taken away so much of the farming, because usually ships are the most grueling thing. I have spent my time in the last 3 years of playing this game really hammering down ships, and you can tell because I have 3 ships that are not finished, and one of them I'm getting close to. The other 2, they don't really fit in the meta too well, and so I genuinely have almost every single ship up to 7 stars, and I have almost every single thing that's non-meta up to going and working. And from here, it's just getting the meta fleets, and I'm done, and I will have a firmly established spot, especially in Kyber 2, but probably Kyber 1 at that point. So don't sleep on your fleets. Get that crystal income from Fleet Arena, get that crystal income from get that crystal income from Grand Arena just by pushing up because you took the time to work on your fleets. Do not sleep on fleets. And the nice thing about fleets is they don't shift. Like right now, we're going to have a Supreme Leader Kylo Ren meta. We're about to go into, you know, having Supreme Leader Kylo Ren and Rey being the total and absolutes because of the Datacrons right now. Fleets aren't like that. Fleets stay the same. Unless they add a new ship, then we have to learn a new counter. But once you get the counters down, you can pretty much get it down and understand and be like, oh, okay, so they did this, I have to do this. Oh, you know, I'm going up against Executor, I can use Karth, and it basically disables their ultimate. So, like, there's a ton of, you know, understanding that comes, but once you have that understanding, it's the easiest thing in the world, because you're just like, oh, I know how this counter is supposed to work. And so, don't sleep on fleets. It's it might be not your favorite part right now, but I promise once you get a couple good fleets going, especially getting a meta fleet, you're gonna fall in love. You're gonna be like, oh, this is so much fun, just being able to absolutely stomp a team. Like, nothing feels better than taking a Finalizer against an Executor and everyone's like, oh no, it's an Executor, and you're just like, oh no, I got this, give me a second. Like, it's so much fun. So don't sleep on your fleets. I'll give you one more look. Take a screenshot, you know, add this tab into your fleets tab. I wish I could like leave a link to download this into your fleets tab so that way you guys can see it, but don't sleep on this fleet. And really quick, we are going to show you just the go-to Malevolence lineup, just for your reference, basically. I didn't really throw it in here because it does require quite a bit of farming. I hate trying to figure out. I know that's the spy. I'm guessing it's this one. Nope. Okay, so you want Sunfax, Geonosian, Starfighter, these two, and then that. And that is the base level Malevolence fleet. And so Sunfac is a taunting tank. You got a tank, you're just basically surviving. And then you pop out Geospy, and Geospy calls a mass assist and absolutely wipes something off of the face of the map. Or the space of the space, I guess, technically, because it's in space for fleets. Anyways, hopefully this this guide, or I wouldn't even call it guide, just please get your stuff done. Don't sleep on fleets. Hopefully it helps, though. Hopefully this wakes you up to what you have in your inventory, that you don't just have a whole bunch of so-so fleets. You have some meta killers in your fleets tab. You have some amazing stuff sitting around, just needing one ship here or there, and you can do tons to all kinds of stuff. You could be fighting up to Kyber with zero problems with this kind of stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, and just, you know, what you're going to go for first, because this is a lot here. And there's a lot to go for first. Like, maybe you go to the BTLB first. Maybe you go for the Echelon first. I personally would suggest this one and keep going on it. BTLB is an excellent one as well. Executor should be like right after you finish Ray and Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. Like, I'm curious what your guys' farming plans is, and as always, if you need help with your farming plans, hit me up in my live streams. I live stream every week, and we do roster reviews. So hit me up, and we'll get you figured out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.